it's clear that the party and the government are not united. Mr. Johnson is a divisive figure. He's a person who wants to, on the one hand, show that he has his own ideas, his own proposals. He's a person that likes to move unilaterally sometimes, which irritates some members of the government. But at the same time, he's pledging allegiance to the prime minister. And he said in his speech that he still stands behind the prime minister. But the important thing to keep in mind, beside the particular figure of Johnson, are the policy issues that are being discussed. As you said, these days, the transition agreement that the UK wants to reach with the European Union is a key issue that the government is discussing. And of course, we have to think that a transition has to be a transition to something. It's not just about the 2 years that people are talking about these days. It's about the future relationship between the UK and the European Union. So ideally, during her speech later today, Theresa May will have to present another or an additional view of the kind of future she sees for the UK and the EU.
What kind of future do you see for the UK and the EU, given the analysis that you've done on this situation?
Well, it's clear that the UK is on its way out of the European Union's single market, the place where goods, people, capital move freely, because sovereignty was an important issue during the Brexit campaign. Immigration is a very important issue for many British voters. So the UK will probably leave the single market because it doesn't want to accept an unlimited number of European Union workers, because the UK doesn't want to be under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. So they are on their way out, and they will probably push for a free trade agreement. Of course, they know that the existing models are not enough. The EU-Canada free trade agreement is the most comprehensive free trade agreement deal to date, but it's not enough for an economy like the UK. We know that in terms of goods, it should not be that big of a deal. The EU has a trade surplus with the UK, so the EU will be interested in a very comprehensive agreement when it comes to goods. Big exporters like Germany will want that, but of course we know that services will be much more complicated. The UK has a massive financial services sector. It has a surplus with Europe when it comes to services. And we know that free trade agreements are much more difficult to negotiate for services than they are for goods.